Hey guys, this is Mark for the Gun Guy channel, and today we are talking about the return of a legend. And no, I don't mean seeing Elvis finishing off a short stack of hotcakes at IHOP. I mean Colt Python, finished in royal blue. We're going to take a look at this legend right after this. Hey guys, it's Mark for the Gun Guy channel, and I am super excited about today's review. Why? Because we are looking at the Colt Python, which is a gun I have wanted to review since we've started this channel, and today we're going to get to do just that. So we're going to be taking a look at the history of Colt Firearms from its origins through today. We're going to take a look at the history of this American masterpiece known as the Colt Python. We're going to unbox the gun that Colt was good enough to send us and that I bought, and we're going to shoot it, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts on it. So if you've been enjoying our channel, please subscribe, like, give us a thumbs up, a comment. It really does help. Also, what we always do is bookmark our chapters. So if for some reason you don't want to know about the history of Colt or the Python and you want to just get to the range or to the final thoughts, you can just jump ahead to that. But for right now, let's take a look at the history of Colt Firearms. So Colt's legacy is probably one of the most storied names in firearms, and it begins with a young inventor named Samuel Colt, who was born in 1814 in Hartford, Connecticut. Colt was a multifaceted young man who was fascinated by mechanical devices from a young age. In 1830, when Colt turned 16, he signed up as a seaman for the brig Corvo, which was a ship bound for Calcutta, India, so he wanted to see the world. It was during this voyage that he basically came up with the idea of a rotating cylinder firearm. So what basically happened was he saw the ship's capstan, which is a device that spins and it takes up the anchors. And he goes, I could turn that into a gun. And what he actually did was he carved a wooden model of this concept during the trip, and that would eventually lead to his revolver patent in 1836. So before he patented the revolver, Colt actually worked in various trades and even toured as Dr. Colt of New York, London, and Calcutta. I had no idea this happened until we started doing research. So what Colt would do is he'd give public demonstrations of nitrous oxide, laughing gas. And in these performances, he would basically inhale nitrous oxide himself or give it to volunteers, which means he had a really happy audience. So basically what he would do is entertain and educate the crowds about the mysteries of chemistry. Now, these demonstrations were partly scientific and partly theatrical, which almost any businessman needs to be a little bit of both, right? And they also served two purposes. So the first purpose was to raise funds for his firearm development and patenting efforts. The second was to publicize himself and build a reputation as an inventor and an innovator. So this phase of his life was really crucial, and the profits from his laughing gas shows helped Colt fund his early revolver prototypes and patent filings, including the legendary 1836 revolver patent that launched the company. So in 1836, at just 22 years of age, Samuel Colt received U.S. patent number 138, which was later renumbered as 9430X, for a revolving cylinder mechanism that would become the foundation of pretty much modern revolvers. He established the Patent Arms Manufacturing Company in Paterson, New Jersey, and began production of the Colt Paterson, the first commercially successful repeating handgun. Well, before Colt's invention, most handguns were single-shot pistols, typically flintlock or percussion cap designs. These muzzle loaders required reloading after every shot, which made every Democrat at the time happy. And were unreliable in wet conditions. Multiple barrel pistols such as pepper boxes offered some capacity improvement, but they were bulky, poorly balanced, and often inaccurate. Colt's innovation introduced reliability, speed, and mechanical efficiency that really revolutionized sidearms for both military and civilian use, and carries on into today. Colt's revolver patent gave him a near monopoly on the mechanically indexed cylinder until the patent expired right around, well, not right around, exactly in 1857. During this time, other American gun makers were limited in what they could manufacture without infringing on Colt's patent. And among these American gun manufacturers were Horace Smith and Daniel B. Wesson, who initially focused on lever-action guns and magazine-fed firearms. In 1856, anticipating Colt's patent expiration, they developed a metallic cartridge revolver and founded, you guessed it, Smith and Wesson. So once Colt's patent expired, Smith and Wesson capitalized on their innovation by releasing the Model 1 in 1857. And this was the first revolver to use self-contained metallic cartridges, which was a, quite frankly, major advancement over Colt's percussion models. Although Smith & Wesson did not pay Colt for the revolver design, they waited strategically until the patents lapsed to enter the market legally. This cat and mouse dynamic between Colt and Smith & Wesson started way back then, but honestly kind of continues on into today. Now, despite early struggles, Colt's fortunes changed when the U.S. Army adopted his revolvers for use in the Mexican-American War. This led to the founding of Colt's Patent Firearm Manufacturing Company in Hartford in 1855, where he scaled production using assembly line techniques decades ahead of his time. Now, unfortunately for Samuel Colt, he passed away in 1862, but his legacy and his guns continued to shape American history. From the Mexican-American War through the Civil War and through 2 world wars, Colt's firearms became synonymous with American military might and the taming of the West. The Colt Walker, the Colt Navy 1851, the Single Action Army, also known as the Peacemaker or the gun that won the West, and the M1911 etched Colt into American folklore and history. In 2015, Colt Defense filed for bankruptcy and was reorganized as a smaller, leaner company. Then in 2021, Colt was acquired by CZG, Czechoslovak Group. I'm getting much better at saying that. Now known as Colt CZ Group SE, which is a Czech company that revitalized Colt's production lines while honoring its American roots. And yes, in case you're wondering, that is CZ, which is also one of my favorite gun companies. So as far as the Python, though, it was first introduced in 1955. The Colt Python was Colt's answer to the premium revolver market. Designed as a target-grade .357 Magnum with elite law enforcement and civilian markets in mind, it was hand-fitted and finely tuned at the Colt Custom Shop. So the original gun was .357 Magnum, which also shot .38 Special. The barrel options at that time were 2.5 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches. And the frame was Colt's I-frame, and it's actually the same frame that they use today. The finish on the gun, it was originally offered in royal blue, and we'll get to royal blue because that's kind of a very special thing about Colt, and nickel. The trigger was tuned for double action, single action, and it was known for a glass smooth pull. Now, when Colt introduced the Python in 1955, the MSRP was approximately $125, which I know I would take 25 of them right now today. However, if we go back to 1955, it was over double the cost of the standard service revolver at the time. Now, probably the closest rival at that time was, you guessed it, the Smith & Wesson Model 27, which ran about $85 at the time. By the way, I'll also take 25 of those at that price. So it made the Colt about 33% more expensive than the Smith. Now, adjusting for inflation, what would that be today? About $1,400, which is kind of what you would wind up paying for a Colt Python today. So it was kind of an expensive revolver. And why, you might ask? Well, because each revolver at that time underwent extensive hand fitting and polishing, and that really contributed to the Python's reputation and just the silky smooth action and mirror-like finish of the Python at that time. Now, in regard to the bluing on the Colt Python. Colt has a process which is basically called the royal blue bluing process, and it took hours of labor. So because of these standards, it was more expensive than competitors like the Smith Wesson Model 27, which used more machine-fitted parts. By the late 1990s, as hand fitting became less sustainable and revolvers declined in popularity compared to semi-automatics, Colt, it hurts to say it, discontinued the Python in 2005. Post-reorganization, Colt relaunched the Python in 2020. Colt had redesigned it to maintain honestly excellent quality while using modern CNC machining, which reduced the need for individual hand fitting. So let's do a quick side-by-side comparison of the modern 2020 through present Colt versus the pre-2005 Colt. So in regard to the classic Python, the manufacturing process was forged and hand fit. The material was carbon or stainless steel. The frame strength was standard and good. The trigger action was hand tuned. And the barrel options at that time were 2.5 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches. The finishing options were originally royal blue, nickel, and eventually stainless steel. And they came with checkered walnut grips. All right, so in regard to the modern Python, which is made post-2020, the manufacturing process is CNC machining. The materials are also stainless or carbon steel, and the strength has actually been increased on the frame. So there is 30% more steel under the rear sights, enforcing the strength of the frame. The trigger action on the gun, it is still single double. However, the revised internals make it a much smoother double action pull. The barrel options are 2.5 inches, 3 inch, 4.25 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches. The finishing options today are brushed stainless steel, and as of 2024, the royal blue finish, which is what we're going to be looking at. The grips are also walnut target grips, and they're a little bit bigger and a little bit different than the classic, but beautiful nonetheless. The 5-inch barrel version was introduced in 2024, and it was never offered during the classic production run. And it is praised as offering an ideal balance between portability and shootability, and that is the one that we got for our review. A blued gun definitely requires more care than stainless steel. They tend to be less corrosion resistant than stainless steel and more prone to visible wear. And as you will see when we're handling it, they pick up your fingerprints pretty well. However, in my opinion, it is really worth it because a blued revolver is just a thing of beauty. And that is kind of why I bought what is in the box. And we're finally going to look at that right now. So let's see what is in the box from Colt. It's from Colt, in case you couldn't tell. You get a really nice case, actually. Comes with the manual, the gun wrapped in some very nice plastic. And again, this is just, I mean, beautiful. It's a very shiny, gorgeous finish, but you can tell it definitely picks up fingerprints. So it comes with this pistol plug or the cylinder plug, and just gorgeous. Colt warranty card and a lock, and that is really it. So we're going to get this stuff out of the way and look at this just beautiful, beautiful revolver right now. Poof. So I don't know if you could see that, but literally it got a fingerprint on it just as I was taking it out of the case. But it is just a beautiful, beautiful finish. Now, I have never handled an original Colt Python, and I know some people were saying that the finish on this is not as nice as the true traditional royal blue. I can't tell you that, but I can say it is absolutely one of the most beautiful blued pistols that I've seen, at least in modern times. So, that being said, let's get into the specifics of this gun. This is a 6-round 357 Magnum, which also shoots 38 specials. The barrel length on this particular gun is 5 inches. And it also comes with a recessed crown, which is a nice feature. And this is a recessed target crown. The only other revolver that I have that has this type of crown is my Ruger Match Champion. So on a Smith Wesson, the 686, the normal one, it does not have this. I believe that may come on some of the Performance Center revolvers. And the reason that this recessed target crown kind of matters is it protects the barreling and the rifling, and it's supposed to give it a more accurate long-term life. So that's a really nice feature on this particular gun. The barrel options are 2.5 inches, 3 inch, 4.25 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches. The overall length on this specific gun is 10.5 inches, and it is supposed to weigh in unloaded at 43.3 ounces. So let's check and see if Colt is lying to us. Oh my God, they are lying. They're off by 0.3 ounces, or the scale could be off too. But it's pretty darn close. So the frame on this is a carbon steel with Colt's royal blue finish. It is a double action, single action gun, and the mechanism underneath here is what's called a V spring, as opposed to a coil spring, or honestly a normal spring that it looks like a coil. So it's supposed to give it a smoother double action and single action. The grips are just this beautiful walnut grain. Again, not to be harshing on Smith, but for those of you who saw the 5-inch 357 review, the wooden grips on that gun were just hideous. And honestly, if you put that grip next to this grip, I wouldn't do that because it would probably make people vomit. But just gorgeous grips with the gold medallion. The sights on this gun are fully adjustable rears, so you can do elevation or windage. And the front sight is a ramp sight. Now this is also different than the classic Python because you can replace the front sight by using an Allen wrench right there. And you could then put a fiber optic on this gun or any other kind of front sight that you like. It also has the classic 3 vented spaces, which are on all the Pythons. It's a full underlug, which is, again, very nice. The cylinder lockup, is just, that's tight. That's really tight. This is a little bit different too from the classic Python. Now, Smiths and Colts go almost the opposite way. So you'd push in on a Smith, but you pull back on a Colt to release the cylinder. And on this, the cylinder release knob, there are now serrations, which was not on the original production run of Colts. But again, just absolutely beautiful. There are serrations on the hammer so that you can do single action and get a good grip on it. The trigger pull on this gun is supposed to come out of the box single action at 5 to 6 pounds and double action at 9.3 to 9.4 pounds. Having shot this gun, so it's kind of a cheat, we already shot the gun. I'm going to guess when we test it, the trigger pull is going to come in substantially less than that. So let's try single action first. Uh, 3 pounds, 14.2 ounces. £2, 9.1 ounces. £2, 13.7 ounces. So significantly below what was reported. Now on the double action, let's try that as well. And it does not feel like a 9-pound trigger to me, but we will see. 6 pounds, 6.7 ounces. So that's really nice. And I know you can't feel it, but it is got to be the smoothest single or double action that I've ever felt. So it's just really nice. 7.75. That's higher than I thought it was going to be. 5 pounds, 10.5 ounces. So kind of a little bit all over, but that may have been the way I was holding it. Let's try it one more. 5 pounds, 12.9 ounces. So I'm guessing it's closer to that 5, 6 than the 9 range. Also, and I don't know if you can see this, but the Colt has a different trigger with serrations in it than most of the guns that I've had. And it does give you a nice grip on this trigger. And if you can tell, there's just no catching, no grinding. You can just pull through that really, really smoothly. And it's just gorgeous. Now, the other thing that is a little bit different than a lot of the other revolvers I have is this actually rotates clockwise, and the Smith rotates counterclockwise. So if you're loading 5, for example, and you were trying to do it like a cowboy action or something like that, you'd want to be cognizant of which way the cylinder is going to rotate. Now, this gun also, even though it has this classic, beautiful look, comes with a transfer bar safety. So it would definitely be safe to carry 6 rounds in it. If you wanted to decock this without shooting it, because of the transfer bar safety, with the trigger depressed, you're going to see the firing pin protrudes out. But if you wanted to decock it safely without risking the gun going boom, cock the hammer, let it come up, take your finger off the trigger, and the firing pin, because of the transfer bar, will stay there. So that is how you safely decock this gun. I don't think we need to do that again because it seemed relatively straightforward. The MSRP on this gun is $16.99, so just $1 shy of $1,700. However, you can find them for around $1,200 to $1,300 online or in your local gun stores. Now, is it worth it? Absolutely, in my opinion. It's just beautiful. The only issue that I really have with this is this beautiful grip is a little bit thick in my hand. So we'll just measure it really quickly. The grip at its thickest point is going to come in right around 33 millimeters, 33.46. And then up here, around 30. So this is a little bit thicker than the classic Colt. I am thinking, although I don't know if I can bring myself to do it, of putting on this ugly, ugly black rubber grip on this beautiful, beautiful gun. And the reason really is that it presents a little bit smaller grip. And for my hand size, that would make this a little bit easier for me to shoot. And I also just tend to like having finger grooves on my revolver. However, that being said, this gun, as it sits in front of you, is just gorgeous. So now that we know how it sits in front of you, let's see how it shoots at the range, even in my hands. Get used to the grip on this. I like the trigger a lot, but I'm so used to these. Very different. The double action, actually really nice on this gun. Like, kind of amazingly nice. All right, so on the Smith, right here, and the Colt here. There, goes in, that goes in. So the cylinders rotate in opposite directions.
Interesting.
All right, so my thoughts on the Colt Python 5-inch in royal blue. I love it. This was genuinely the first time I had ever shot this gun, and I don't know if we included it in this video or not, but I did shoot it side by side with my 686, which I shoot a lot. First time right out of the box at the range, the double action on the Python was ridiculous and smooth. I was shooting double action with the Python far better than I was with the Smith that I had shot for years. The single action was just beautiful, very crisp, very clear. By the way, that's not a knock on the 686. They're both great guns, but the double action on the Python was just amazing. In regard to the kick on the gun, I did notice that the 357, it had a little more kick. And I'm guessing that's principally because of the walnut grips. If I were going to shoot this gun a lot, I would consider putting on some Hogue rubber grips, because I think that they would really make it a more pleasant shooting experience for the 357s. But that being said, I don't know if I can actually bring myself to do that, because the walnut grips on this gun are just beautiful. Now, they are different than Colt's original grips, and I found these grips a little bit thick for my hands. Now, if you have really, really big hands, it might work well. I have large to medium-sized hands, and I found it a little bit tough to get a grip on it. But again, it really didn't have that much of an influence on my shooting, so I think it's just getting used to this particular gun. Now, if I were going to leave this gun as a safe beauty or a vault princess, I would not touch those grips. The gun is beautiful, and I would be very happy just opening the safe and looking at it once a week and going, oh my God, that's a gorgeous gun. Anyhow, that's my thoughts on the grips. So whether your heart leans towards the functional brilliance of stainless steel or the reflective beauty of the royal blue, Colt has ensured that the Python's legacy is going to continue with a kind of elegance that honestly only comes from 6 rounds of 357 and 150 years of American ingenuity. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think of the Colt Python in the comments. Like, subscribe. See you next time on The Gun Guy.